My name is Emma Hammett. I'm the founder and CEO of First Aid for Life and onlinefirstaid.com. Today I'm going to talk a bit about asthma. Asthma is really common, and because it's so common, sometimes people don't give it the seriousness or understand how serious it can be. And it's really important that you do understand, because an awful lot of people do walk around carrying these blue inhalers. A lot of them will have asthma. Some of them will have been prescribed these because they've had a tightness of their chest, because they have got a really nasty chest infection, or maybe they are suffering from something that's making their airways a little bit tighter. I'll be explaining about the reliever inhaler or the Salbutamol inhalers a bit later, but these are really effective at relaxing your airways when they have got tight, and so a lot of people have prescribed them when they are not necessarily asthmatic. Asthma itself is a serious illness, and it does kill people. It's estimated that someone is suffering in the UK from an asthma attack, which is potentially fatal, every 10 seconds. And 3 people do die from asthma every single day in the UK. Now, the incidence of asthma may be increasing because of things like air pollution as well. It's been in the news a lot lately. And also it's quite seasonal sometimes. Some people find that the cold weather makes their asthma worse. Some people find that hay fever and pollen time is particularly bad for them. What happens if you are an asthmatic is that your airway, instead of being a nice smooth lumen, what happens is that the airways develop sort of lumps and bumps on them. They become ridged. And it's those ridges that cause the wheeze that we're aware of when you hear someone who's having an asthma attack. And the difficulty is when they're trying to breathe out. Now, to understand a little bit more about what it's like for an asthmatic, I mean, it's very frightening if you're an asthmatic and you're having an attack. But to just understand a little bit, if you're not asthmatic and you get a straw and you blow out through that straw continually for about a minute, you'll start getting that horrible, frightening, lightheaded feeling, that tightness of your chest, and a slight indication as to what it feels like for someone having asthma symptoms. So back to asthma. You've got the nice round lumen that people who haven't got asthma tend to have within their airways. And that allows the air to pass inside, in and out quite easily without any major obstructions happening. If you have asthma, you end up with those ridges and the bits where the air can get caught, which causes that wheeze. And if you're having a severe asthma attack, the bronchioles and the inside of your lungs can also produce mucus. And that makes everything so much stickier and much harder as well. So it means that someone that's struggling to breathe can find it even more difficult to get that breath out. And it is very frightening. Now, they are usually prescribed a salbutamol inhaler, a blue inhaler. They come in all different guises. There's spin inhalers and autoinhalers and all different sorts. And that's because inhalers are very difficult to use. What you are trying to get the person to do, well, first of all, what this is salbutamol. And salbutamol is a very effective muscle relaxant. It's been around for years. It has minimal side effects. If somebody overdoses, there's 200 puffs in one of these, in a new one. If somebody overdoses, they end up getting with a slight tremor in their chest, a little bit of palpitations, and a slight tremor on their fingers. You obviously shouldn't overdose, but it's quite nice to know that it is a remarkably safe treatment. So what this does is it relaxes your airways and allows the air to pass in and out in a much smoother way, so that your breathing eases and everything feels a bit better. People who have asthma should all have a reliever inhaler. they are likely to have additional medication as well. So the additional medication is quite often preventers, which are steroid-based. And what they do is they dampen down the inflammation around the inside of the airways and make it less likely that the body will react when they have an allergic stimulus. Because asthma tends to be allergy-induced. You have the underlying asthma and your asthmatic airways, but it's made worse because of some sort of an allergy. And that could be pet hair, household dust, pollution, the pollen, when it's hay fever season. It can be extreme cold, as I explained before. There's all sorts of things, and an individual asthmatic will usually know what makes their asthma worse. And also, if they have a chest infection or a nasty cold, that will make it harder for them as well. Exercise can also bring on an asthma attack, but asthmatics should not be discouraged from exercising. So if they are exercising, they should always have their asthma inhaler with them, their reliever inhaler with them, so that if they get that tight in the chest feeling, they can quickly take this. And a lot of the time, the majority of the time, the reliever inhaler will dampen down that response and they will feel better, and that's relieving their asthma symptoms, and then they can carry on as normal. Now, Asthma UK has an absolutely wonderful website. It's really well put together, it's packed full of resources, and they are working tirelessly to reduce the number of deaths from asthma and to raise awareness as to how important asthma is and how seriously it should be treated. Asthma UK say that if you are needing to use your reliever inhaler more than 3 times a week, then you should be consulting your doctor again and having another asthma review. And if you're using more than 12 reliever inhalers in a year, so it's more than 1 a month, again, it means your asthma is not as controlled as it should be, and you should be going and getting additional advice and support. There are so many different medications that can help to control your asthma. We mentioned before about steroid-based preventer inhalers. If your steroid-based preventer inhalers and your reliever inhaler in combination are not meaning that you are free from symptoms the majority of daytimes and the majority of night times, you're not being woken up by asthma, and that you're able to lead your day-to-day activities without feeling that your asthma is spoiling your life, then there's other things like a longer-acting reliever inhaler, and there's other further things like additional prednisolone tablets that can be given to you if your asthma is not properly controlled. But there's other things we'll go through in a second as well, which may be able to just help you tweak your control and understand how you can help yourself. Because we mentioned those horrendous death statistics, sort of 3 people every day in the UK. And again, Asthma UK reckons that over 2/3 of those are unnecessary. They're preventable deaths. If we are responsible for ensuring that we're taking the medication as prescribed, if the GPs and the experts and everyone else are giving us all the information we need, and if we all work together and understand and go back if the symptoms aren't as controlled as they should be, or if you're having a patch where you're struggling with your asthma, get additional help. Okay, so the reliever inhaler is very effective, or it should be. Now, the issue with inhalers is they are very difficult to take. What you are asking someone to do, and this is somebody who is really scared, they are very frightened, they cannot breathe, their hands are sweaty, they're shaking a bit, they're lightheaded, they haven't got as much oxygen to their brain as they would like, And life is not good for them at this precise second. They are trying to struggle to get this medication to relax the airways so that they can breathe properly. The first thing is be and stay calm. The calmer you are, the calmer the casualty will be. If you start saying, oh my goodness, they're having an asthma attack, how can I help them? They will pick up on that and their airway will become tighter as they feel more panicked. So the calmer you are, the calmer they will be. They will pick up on the general tone that's going on and you will be able to help them better. So stay calm and they will let you take control. Right, what you need to do then is shake the salbutamol inhaler, okay? It will have been stored with the cap on, or it should have been stored with the cap on. If you have one of these knocking around in your handbag or the bottom of your briefcase, please keep that cap on, because what you're going to do is take off that cap and inhale. And if you've had it knocking around in your handbag or the bottom of your briefcase and stuff has just got dropped in or there's dust in there, then you will be inhaling that as well, which is clearly not a good idea. Okay, so back to this poor person having the asthma attack. You've taken off the cap, you've shaken it. What they now need to do is breathe out, and they need to breathe in at the same time as pushing it. So, and hold it. And that is enabling, if I spray it there, you can see what it is. It's a dose of salbutamol to get down into the airways. Now the issue is as well, is that a lot of that will end up hitting the back of their throat and it can make them cough, and it is a very difficult technique. So a lot of people are prescribed a spacer, and people tend to think that spacers are just for kids or for old people. That's not the case. A spacer can dramatically increase the control of your asthma. So what you are doing when you're giving the spacer is you are puffing it into, so it would go, that would go in the mouth, and you're puffing it into the volumatic or the spacer so that they can just breathe in and out and get a much, much better control and more medication down into their airway where they need it, rather than it hitting the back of the throat. So if someone has been prescribed an inhaler with a spacer, it may be a whopping great thing like this, or there are so many different ones of them. There's neater ones like this for a child, which fits very neatly over their face. Again, let them play with it and feel comfortable with it. And you would spray it like that, and then they would breathe in and out like that. So what that's doing is just enabling them to inhale the medication in a better and a more effective way. So sometimes if people are finding their asthma is not as controlled as well as it might be, it may be their inhaler technique. And again, their asthma nurse can help them with inhaler technique. They are fantastic at teaching people exactly how to get the maximum amount of medication down to where it's needed. And there are all different inhalers that can be prescribed as well for individuals' preferences and if they've got arthritis in their hands or have difficulty using it. For a child, if they're struggling, you may want to help them to give their inhaler, which is like I was showing you before. So you would get them to breathe out, and then you'd say, when I say now, you want to breathe in. So now. Okay, and then they would breathe in, and that can help them. People have also said that a sort of disposable cup with a hole in the bottom can make a quite helpful spacer as well to help increase the amount of medication that's going in. Now, the reliever inhalers usually work pretty quickly. They're told to take one every 10 seconds, up to a maximum of 10, and see whether or not they feel better. If they don't feel better, or if their symptoms are getting worse, then they should seriously consider getting an ambulance on the way. Because the majority of the time, 1 or 2 puffs will actually work very quickly. And don't hesitate if you are seriously worried, because it is important to get the emergency services out if it's necessary, because they will have more advanced medication and help and things that they can give them to help. They may give them some sort of additional steroids that can help dampen down the response. And as we said before, asthma is serious. It is a life-threatening condition. Okay, other things to remember and just to work through very quickly. Your inhaler should be kept at the right temperature, or not at extremes of temperature, and it can also be affected by altitude. So if you're going skiing and you're asthmatic, it might be worth talking to your asthma nurse before you go, and just make sure that if you need your reliever inhaler, that it will work for you at the extremes of temperature and altitude that you're planning to go to. I have lots more information on asthma on our website, www.firstaidforlife.org.uk. I've recently written a paper for the British Journal of School Nursing, and that's available on our website in the press page. And there are lots of other articles too. I also have flowcharts and posters that I can send out if anyone would like them on asthma treatment, and also some visuals on what an asthmatic's airways might look like. So please email me, emma@firstaidforlife.org.uk. There's online courses on this too, and it's also covered in my new book, Burns, Falls and Emergency Calls, which is available on Amazon. Thank you very much for listening, and look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Bye.